But first, the Wall Street Journal this morning characterized this economic storm we are in as a, quote, Category 5 test of our financial levees. Almost overnight, Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old financial giant that withstood 2 world wars and a Great Depression, crumbled. Its employees left to pack up their desks ASAP, only weeks after being assured that their jobs were safe. Another Wall Street institution, Merrill Lynch, was rescued and consumed by Bank of America after 48 hours of frantic negotiations. And the future of yet another giant, AIG, hangs in the balance. The stock market dropped 500 points. As the financial crisis enters above-the-fold giant headline stop press territory, the partisan divide on the economy could hardly be clearer. Here's what I mean. Here's President Bush on the money meltdown today.
In the short run, adjustments in the financial markets can be painful, both for the people concerned about their investments and for the employees of the affected firms. In the long run, I'm confident that our capital markets are flexible and resilient and can deal with these adjustments.
Flexible and resilient? Okay, after 7.5 years at the helm, we should maybe expect a little self-confident delusion from the president about how well he's done economically. But surely neither of the men running to succeed Bush would look at today's news, at the national debt, at wages, at income inequality, at the dollar, at gas prices, at mortgages, at the 500-point plunge in the market today, and say, all in all, looks good. Would they?
You know that there's been tremendous turmoil in our financial markets in Wall Street, and people are frightened by these events. Our economy, I think, still, the fundamentals of our economy are strong, but these are very, very difficult times.
The fundamentals are what? A few hours later, after his remarks were put through the McCain campaign reinterpreter machine, the senator clarified with the help of some trusty note cards that everyone misunderstood him. As it turns out, he did acknowledge that the banking system is in crisis, but he went on to defend his interpretation of those fundamentals.
Our workers are the most innovative, the hardest working, the best skilled, most productive, most competitive in the world. That's the American worker. And my opponents may disagree, but those fundamentals, the American worker and their innovation, their entrepreneurship, the small business, those are the fundamentals of America, and I think they're strong.
Oh, I see. So if you're against the economy going down the toilet, you're against American workers. And if you're against the war, you're against the troops. And if you're against climate change, what? You're against sunlight or something? On the other side of the divide was Senator Obama, who sees the fundamentals as troubled at best. Here's his response to McCain today.
Senator McCain, what economy are you talking about? What's more fundamental than the ability to find a job that pays the bills and that can raise a family? What's more fundamental than knowing that your life savings is secure and that you can retire with dignity? What's more fundamental than knowing that you'll have a roof over your head at the end of the day? What's more fundamental than that?
So the Republicans say publicly that it's uncomfortable, but it's not that bad. The Democrats say it's really bad. What about the economic uber experts? Well, the normally reserved, unquestionably nonpartisan former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, who, by the way, has been around forever, sort of, had this to say about that flexible, resilient, and strong economy.
This is a once-in-a-half-century, probably once-in-a-century type of event.
Is it the worst you've ever seen in your career?
Oh, by far. There's no question that this is in the process of outstripping anything I've seen, and it still is not resolved, and it still has a way to go.
Okay, it's not like Alan Greenspan is a disinterested party here, but your choice is set. Do you want this economic crisis to be handled by the party that thinks this crisis is not so bad? Or do you want this crisis to be handled by the party that thinks it is bad? Do you trust Barack Obama and Joe Biden to handle this crisis wisely? Or do you think this is a job for John McCain and Sarah Palin? Joining us now is Robert Reich, Secretary of Labor under President Clinton, now a professor at the University of California at Berkeley. He does serve as an economic advisor to the Obama campaign. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us.
Well, Rachel, thank you for having me. This is not a pretty picture.
No, and to hear, Alan Greenspan, as I said, not a disinterested observer, but to hear Alan Greenspan describe this as the worst he has ever seen in his lifetime is jarring. How bad is it?
Well, it's very bad, and Alan Greenspan has had a long lifetime so far.
Yes.
So this is very, very bad. I'll tell you, it's not just the meltdown on Wall Street that concerns me. It's also we've had more than 600,000 jobs lost in the American economy. We've got a degree of job security we haven't seen in years, and people cannot get any more money. That is, their purchasing power is very low. If people can't afford to buy things, if their income is dropping, then obviously there's not going to be more jobs because producers are not going to hire more people to make things.
Why is Senator McCain saying over and over again, in the light of all those things that you just described, why is he saying that the fundamentals of the economy are strong? We've heard it both from President Bush and repeatedly now from Senator McCain. What's that about?
Rachel, I think it's basically because the Republicans have been in charge now. I mean, the Democrats have been in charge, since in Congress since January of '07. But before that, it was Republicans in Congress, and it's certainly Republicans in the White House. And if you're a Republican running for president, you're not going to say, look, everything is terrible, it is awful. Even if you're trying to distance yourself from George W. Bush, you can't distance yourself from every Republican. And indeed, you were there running Congress. You were part of the congressional Republican leadership.
Well, how much of what's wrong is the result of bad policy in Washington, and how much of it is economic stuff that would have happened regardless of what was happening in Washington?
Rachel, economic stuff goes up and down. I mean, it's like Isaac Newton's law. What goes down comes up. What goes up goes down. There is a business cycle. But here, with a meltdown on Wall Street, the subprime mess, it's very clear that there has been a relentless desire on the part of people in Washington, Republicans and the Bush administration, to look the other way, not to regulate, not to even enforce current regulations. And that has fed the problem, because without regulations, without a belief that the market has to be regulated, you're going to have a lot of fraud, you're going to have a lot of funny business, you're going to have banks and investment banks that are issuing securities that are not really backed with real value. You're going to have a lot of hanky-panky going on, and that's exactly what's happened.
Well, speaking of hanky-panky, I look at Phil Gramm as John McCain's former national co-chair, and I see the words "my fault" metaphorically written on his forehead, because he was the kill the regulations financial guy for the Republicans. But you guys in the Clinton administration were not total bystanders to all this. And it makes me wonder if this is a liberal-conservative split more than a Democrat-Republican split. Were conservative Democrats part of the problem here?
Well, Rachel, certainly in the latter years of the Clinton administration, when I was not there any longer, I should add, there was an attempt by Alan Greenspan and Bob Rubin and a few others to deregulate financial markets. And they did. They split commercial banking off from investment banking. And many people say, well, that was the beginning of the problem. And then, of course, in 2003, 2004, Alan Greenspan reduced short-term interest rates to the point where, every single bank wanted to lend money. I mean, if you could stand up straight, you could get a bank loan because there was so much pressure to get that money out the door. Money was so cheap. So, yes, there is some responsibility on Democrats, some responsibility on Alan Greenspan and the Fed. But I'll tell you, the Republicans have avoided any kind of a regulatory oversight of this entire mess. And not just housing and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, but all of these institutions have just gone haywire.
Robert Reich, former Secretary of Labor and current economic advisor to the Obama campaign, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks, Rachel.